Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and it is time for our annual Best Books of the Year episode. This year, we are joined by Andrew Limbong, who is the host of the wonderful NPR podcast Book of the Day. He hails from Brooklyn and is also one of NPR's Arts Desk reporters, covering all things arts and culture. Andrew is here to share his top 5 books of 2022, and I'll be revealing my picks as well. And in the end, we'll have our final top 10 books of 2022. Listen to us unpack our favorites, share trends we saw in 2022, and things we're looking forward to in 2023. Don't forget, our December book club selection is True Biz by Sarah Novich. We will be discussing the book on Wednesday, December 28th with Greta Johnson. Everything we talk about on each episode of The Stacks can be found in the link in the show notes. And if you love the show and want more of it, head to patreon.com/The Stacks to join The Stacks Pack. The Stacks is an independent podcast, which means I rely on listeners like you to make the show possible week in and week out. You still have a few more weeks to get the Stacks reading tracker. We're going to be sharing that with folks all the way until January 31st, 2023. So if you want a place to track all of your reading, have it be completely customizable and private so you don't have to worry about other people judging your star rating, head to patreon.com/The Stacks to join the Stacks Pack, get your tracker and other awesome perks like bonus episodes, our virtual book club, our Discord, discounts on merch, all of that good stuff. I'd like to take a quick second to give a shout out to our newest member of the Stacks Pack, Megan Berkovian. And thank you, of course, to every single member of the Stacks Pack. All right, now it's time for the best books of 2022 with Andrew Limbong. All right, everybody, I am so excited today. I am joined by Andrew Limbong, who is the host of NPR's Book of the Day podcast. I brought in the big guns because Andrew has a book of every single day. So if he doesn't know the best books of the year, who does? Andrew, welcome to The Stack.
Hey, what's up? How you doing, Tracy?
I'm good. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah.
Let me give people just a quick set some expectations around today's episode. This is, I think, our 5th year doing this, which means Andrew and I are going to go back and forth. We each have picked 5 of our favorite books of this year. We're going to share them with you. We don't know each other's picks. We're going to have a good time. These are our favorite books of the year. So if they're not your favorite books of the year, that's okay. These are just what Andrew and I love. So with that being said, Andrew, will you just tell the people a little bit about yourself? And I'd love to know a little bit about how Book of the Day came to you.
Yeah, so I started at NPR. I've been at NPR for a minute. I started as an intern on All Things Considered back in like 2011.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm one of the rare people that has had the great luck of like staying in a decent like place of employment for a decent amount of time in media. And so I was at All Things Considered, and then I worked at this show called Tell Me More, which was a daily talk show. That was the place where I really cut my teeth. And then that show got canceled in 2014, somewhere around there. And then I started working at what's now called the Culture Desk, first as a producer, and then I eventually worked my way up to become a reporter. And yeah, so the Book of the Day podcast is interesting. It is a compendium of the author interviews that all the hosts in the building do. And so they do like, I'll be real, I'm not like trying to say that it's hard to keep track of all the author interviews that we do in this building, you know,
So
you know what I mean? And so, and it's just like, and you know, I'll be like looking at our background, like, oh, we talked to them. Oh, where we had them on? When was it? You know what I mean? And it's just like easy to miss. And so we've been trying to think about how to do a sustainable podcast on books at NPR for a while, and I think this was the best way to do it. And so like it is every day of the week, you get a different host interview from a different book. Sometimes, you know, it'll be like the latest releases, you know, like the buzzy books of the day. My favorite episodes are when we go back into the archives, right? Like for whatever reason, we'll dig back into like an interview from the 90s or an interview from the 80s, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I find those interviews so illuminating. And like, I was about to say, like, as I get older, you know, as I'm aging, you know, that adage about like history rhyming, right? Like things sort of just like repeat, and like you, on the one hand, it's like illuminating. It's like, oh, we've been here before, and like this is how this is handled, da da da. But then on the other hand, it's like, oh, bro, we're still not over this. We're still, you know what I mean?
Right.
We've been at
Right.
this for decades, and no. And so yeah, those are my favorite interviews, I think.
I love that. How did you get to be the person who hosts this show?
So when the producers were dummying stuff up around like getting a proof of concept together, I just was in like the right place and right time to be. They were like, "Hey, can you just like throw some tracks on these real quick to see if it
Mm,
sounds good?" And I was like, "Okay." Uh,
got it.
and then as that process kept going, right? So there was like one pilot, another pilot, and I as they did more, I kept like putting more of my own like voiciness onto the
Hmm.
copy, and they seemed to like it enough that I got the gig.
I love that.
Yeah.
And have you always been a book person?
So my original plan was to be a English professor.
Oh my gosh.
That
So
was
yeah.
that
So the
was
answer is
yeah,
yes.
the answer is yes. I mean, not really. I think of it like when you're just like always. There was like I did play PlayStation a lot as a kid, and my
Okay.
mom had to
Sure.
like
Sure.
drag me into my room and like force me to read. You know what I mean?
Fair.
But yeah, the whole goal was to be an English professor. Specifically, I wanted to be like the Faulkner scholar. You know what?
Oh.
Yeah, like I
Wow.
was like I want to be the preeminent William Faulkner scholar of
Oh my god.
world, right? You know the pay for that is
Can't be
not
great.
the market for Faulkner scholars not popping off these days.
Yeah, I would imagine that it's not the same as like I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know what market is popping off, but I know
yeah,
it's not
the
the Faulkner
Faulkner
corner
scholar.
of the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what kind of reader, like how would you describe your reading taste so people can kind of understand as you pick your top 5 books, like what is it about a book that speaks to you or what do you love about what makes a book something that you love?
You know what's funny? I was thinking about what my tastes usually are, and I'm looking at the list that I have this year. Generally speaking, my taste in books, actually, I'll be real, like my taste in like movies, TV shows, books,
Yeah.
are like someone is sad,
Okay.
they go on a journey thinking that that'll fix it, and then it doesn't. You
Okay.
know what I mean? That's like the general, like
I
just
love this.
yeah. Someone is like, "Huh, I'm bummed out. Let me try this dumbass thing." And then they're
Yeah.
like, "Huh, that didn't fix it. I wonder why not." You know what I mean? I didn't do any of the bother doing any internal work to fix it whatsoever, and I'm so bummed out.
Oh my god, I love that. That's a genre that I'm a little bit into.
Yeah,
I can appreciate. I love a sad moment. When you just said sad, I was like, great, we're gonna be able to pull this off. Because
yeah,
some years I have people who are like, I love a romance, and I'm like, we're gonna have nothing to talk about for the next hour. So,
yeah.
not that I don't love romance, I just love all things sad. Like all my favorite romances are like distressed woman, like
Uh huh.
having a terrible time at life,
Uh huh.
and
And
then
then
like
maybe
falls
this
in love.
relationship will fix it.
Yeah,
Whatever
yeah.
it
And like,
is.
I love a happy ending every once in a while. But if it's like happy go lucky woman, like just looking for love, I'm like, no, thank you,
Uh
not
huh.
interested.
Yeah.
And so in general, in 2022, did you have any like thoughts about this year in books? Anything that stuck out to you, good or bad, about the year?
So I gotta shout out the like NPR has this thing called Books We Love, right? Which is like this sort
Uh-huh.
of compendium of like
Yes.
this year it's like 400 plus
400
books. Yeah,
books.
it's crazy. And I was just like looking at that and like listening to a lot of the author interviews that we've done. We there's been a lot of like generational family books. I feel like this year there's been
Mm.
a lot of that stuff about like you know, oh, my dad screwed me up. And then like the dad being like, oh yeah, my grandma really did a number on me. You know what I mean? You just find out
Yes,
about like the
intergenerational trauma.
yeah, all that. I feel like that's been a big thing this year. From like a taste, just like looking at books, media. I don't know about you. I feel like is there no at least on the fiction side because I feel like on the nonfiction side there's like a clear heater of the year.
Mhm.
Which we may or may not be on your list.
Oh,
I don't know.
I'm curious what you think that
Um,
book is. We'll save it. We'll see
yeah,
if I hit it.
but I feel like there's no like heater in the fiction world, right?
Yeah. So my big takeaway from this year, and I hate to be an asshole, but it's part of who I am,
Uh
is
huh.
I thought this was not a great year in
It's a
books.
down year, yeah.
And I think that like part of the reason that the NPR list is 400 books was because it was sort of just like every book was equally like good. but there weren't as many standouts. And so I feel like it was harder to like narrow down a list. But also the NPR list has been growing and growing. I went back and looked and it was like 215 books like 5 years ago. And now it's like 406 books. I was like, whoa. But I do think that there's like something, I just think it's sort of like the books are all good, but nothing felt like a huge standout to me, except for I do have one nonfiction book that I thought was above and beyond. And I'm wondering if this is the book that you're thinking of. So we'll see.
I'm going to write this. Hang on. I'm going to write it down. Right. And then
we'll reveal. But yeah, it was sort of like especially on the fiction side for me. Like I'm not a huge fiction person. I do prefer nonfiction, but I only found one fiction book this year that I really loved. And that was a sad for me. But yeah, sort of a solid year, but not an exemplary year, if you will.
It's like, you know how like last year, like I'm in Baltimore and like I go to a handful of bookstores and they all had like Detransition Baby like on the shelf. You know what I mean? Like that was like the thing on the special. And like I feel like and you know, maybe this isn't indicative of anything other than just like bookstores now have different tastes, but I feel like there is no like one common book that I've seen at the stores that just have like the one book that they're trying to, you know?
Yeah, like no consensus. I agree. And Detransition Baby did make our top 10 last year.
Yeah.
Thought it was
I remember
fantastic.
correctly. It was the one that was like on all of your lists, right? Or
all three of us. Yeah, all three of us agreed that it was like the book that we all loved.
Yeah.
I do think there's no consensus. I mean, New York Times, they released their, top 10 books this year. And it was so interesting because I don't think any of their top 10 books were finalists for the National Book Award this year, which is so rare. Like that just shows there's just no consensus and everyone was sort of like pulling. Not that those two organizations are like the only two, but usually there's some overlap. Like last year, I know Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois was on there. I'm pretty sure Clint Smith's book was on both of those. Like there's usually some consensus about like good books, but this year feels like who knows. So that's going to be really fun for our list because who knows.
Well, now do you think that is because it's a down year, or is that like I wonder?
It's because a down year, but I also think that the New York Times is obsessed with being like a kingmaker, and I don't know this to be true, but their list this year felt like we're gonna pick our own books and like see how many people buy them and love them and like show how powerful we are. Like it just really felt like one of those lists to me. Yeah. Not to shit on any of those books, but just like the way that it was so out of left field. I felt like their list this year. Usually I have a sense, and when I see their list, I'm like, yeah, sure. And this year I was like, what is happening? And I think a lot of people felt that way.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I don't know. I think it's a combination of maybe not having like clear favorites and also the New York Timesing. As they are wont to do.
Yeah. Coming for you, Times. Coming for you.
Yeah, we're coming. Watch out. Yeah. Ready to fight. Are you ready to do this?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to let you start because you're a guest. So why don't you tell me your first? And this is not in any order, everyone. This is just, we're going one for one.
I will say,
go ahead and tell me your first.
My last one. I'll say my last one because that one's like the one with the number one with the bullet in my.
Sorry, then I'll do my number one. I'll do my number one also last.
Okay, yeah. All right, yeah. So my first, everything else, by the way, is like jumbled around. So it's not ranked otherwise. Yeah, I think the first book I'll pick is Lapvona by Ottessa Moshfegh.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about like a little peasant boy from indie poor fictional medieval village of Lapvona. This boy named Marek finds his way sort of adopted into the royal family of the village. It is, I know Moshfegh heads probably know her from A Year of Rest and Relaxation. For my money, it's better. I think I think it's more interesting. Like the world, literally like the world is bigger. Like the cast of characters is bigger, right? You get more textures from the different families and people and players in the game, and it's also her like this part is like I think been hit on a lot, but it makes sense. It's like she's firing at all cylinders in her grossness writing, and I think reading some reviews, it was a bit too much for people, and I think there was that one big New York Mag article about her that came out in the middle of the year, but I just found it so funny, like her gross out writing. It was. It wasn't like, it wasn't gratuitous, right? It wasn't like I was watching Saw or something like that.
Right.
But it was like, it reminds me of like, you know how sometimes they're like when Quentin Tarantino like shoots like food, and then
Yes.
there'll be like when like a fork goes into like the cake, you can feel the right.
Yeah.
You get the goosebumps
Like
on
really
the back.
sensory,
Yeah.
like grotesque a little bit.
Yes, that's what reading this book reminds me of.
Oh my God, I love that description.
Yeah, it's yeah. And
I've never read any of her books.
Oh, really?
No, I that gross is not for me, and I feel like I've heard that it's like gross and weird, and I'm not like a super weird reader.
Yeah. No, I think I'm curious what people, because she's like low key book talk famous for a certain type of person. And I haven't. It's been interesting when the book came out. I thought I'd see more about it from that crowd, but I don't know if like my algorithm has like led me away to it. But I haven't seen that much chatter about it on the book talk, realm that wears My Year of Rest and Relaxation like proudly on their sleeve. Which is it's an interesting sort of reaction to it.
I have a theory about book talk that the book has to have come out in paperback.
Oh, that's interesting.
I feel like book talk is like late on books. Like it's so rare that they're like really up on a brand new book, and that's why it's like a lot like book like Circe or whatever. It's like it's been out for a while. You can get it in paperback. It's more accessible. You're not spending $35 on it. You're spending like $18. And I feel like there's something about it having been in the zeitgeist a little bit, and then book talk picks it up and it like goes viral. So maybe it's coming.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do wonder if I'd love to hear from a publicist if there's been an increase in like ARC spending on book talk creators. You know what I mean?
Oh, like sending arcs that way.
Yeah.
I definitely know that they do a lot more marketing in that direction because I am in the Instagram space, and I have seen a lot more like link to your book talk and like that kind of stuff. And I know that they are spending money over there. There was like some New York Times article about book talk. I don't know. I have a lot that we should do a whole episode on book talk because I have a lot of questions and thoughts about it. But
you're so, as like a Bookstagram person, you're like, I feel like you're like smoking a cig, like I've been here before.
Yeah. That's exactly how I feel. I'm like, I'm an old hand, been in these streets pushing books. Yeah. But I do feel like Instagram is much more new books, and book talk is much more older backlist titles, like new backlist, but not like. It's like they were obsessed with A Little Life. I'm like, yeah, I read that like 7 years ago.
Yeah, get with it.
Like been there, done that. Cried over Jude, everybody. You're not new.
Yeah. I mean, it could be like that crowd is like just turned like 22 and like are now emotionally ready to handle. I mean, like, I don't know if I'm even still emotionally ready to handle that book again.
Have you read it?
Yeah,
I would never read it again.
I have complicated feelings about it.
So do I. So many. Oh my God, we should do a whole episode on that too. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go with my first pick. Well, not first pick, but just the first book I'm sharing. I'm going to go with His Name is George Floyd by Robert Samuels and Toulouse Olunuripa. I was super not wanting to read this book at all when I saw it because I was like, this is going to be some fucking fake Black Lives Matter power grab bullshit coming from these journalists from the Washington Post, whatever. The book is so beautifully done. It's so detailed. I keep referring to it as the presidential treatment, but they give George Floyd the presidential treatment. They dig into his family history. They trace his family line back into slavery. They take like the many different facets of his life, like housing, obviously incarceration, education, and they tie his experiences to like the greater structures and systems in place in America. And they really like put his life in perspective and make it make sense how someone that none of us knew could become such a catalyst for so many people. And they render him so beautifully. Like I genuinely was upset when he was killed because I was like, I'm really sad we're not going to get more of this person in this story. Like I missed him. I longed for him in a way that I was not expecting at all. And I think that in addition to the actual like writing and storytelling being really well done, and they interviewed like 400 people and they talked to his family and his friends and his, high school football coach, and they also do a similar thing with Derek Chauvin, where they dig into his family history and his history becoming a police officer and his, like, how he was trained and all of this stuff. But in addition to like all of that, for them to push back against, I think, a lot of people's preconceived notions about what the book would be, like how I was very apprehensive about it, they really like proved me wrong in a way that I was like, I respect this book so much because that was really hard to do and I really didn't want to read this. So I was really taken by this book. I'm so glad it exists. For people who have read Invisible Child by Andrea Elliott, it is a similar kind of book where they use George Floyd as sort of like the center, but they explore all these different American systems, and it's really well done.
Yeah, I'm glad. So yeah, I haven't read it because I now no longer was like apprehensive about.
Yeah.
There's something like uncomfortable to me about like when sometimes people become like symbols for a
Yes.
greater thing, and then by
Yes.
that way they get like kind of like dehumanized, and it feels there's something like icky. I don't know,
Yes,
uncomfortable.
totally.
I get like
Totally.
squigged out about it. But it's nice to know that this. I feel like this. I'm hearing that this does the opposite of that.
Yeah, I literally, the only reason I picked it up is because it was on the long list for the National Book Award. And I was like, I'm going to read all the long lists for nonfiction this year.
Oof,
and then
yeah.
I picked it up and I was like, wow, I felt like an asshole because I was like, don't judge a book by its cover. I judged it by 2 words in the title. Like I was like, George Floyd, it's going to suck. No, it's so good. And if you're going into it and you're feeling like, ugh, I don't want to read it, I'm with you. I was with you then. I see it. And I will say, like, for me, the worst part of, not the worst part, but the part of the book that I liked the least was actually like the trial and the stuff that I knew. Because the first 2/3 of the book, it's like, you don't know any of this. You don't know anything about, we didn't know anything about this man. Like, he was a stranger to generally everybody besides the handful of people who knew him. And like getting to know him and learn about him, and they trace his family back to slavery, and like not just his family, but the family that owned his family. Like they find out who the people were who owned his like great grandfather. Like it's just incredibly researched and detailed. And so I just really loved it. So that's my first one. Andrew's turn.
Well, I guess this is I'll do a little switcheroo here. Not on switcheroo on the list. Because no, you said that like when you said that you were apprehensive about reading it. Well, a book that's on my list is called Elite Capture. How the powerful took over identity politics and everything else, by Olufemi Otaiwo. It's like a philosophy book. It's a pretty slim read. But the central argument is about how elites can use the language of oppression to further their own goals at the expense of people who are oppressed. And I feel like it's happened a lot since 2020,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
a lot. I do.
and it's happened a lot through history. And I think, one of the arguments in the book is that like it's not like some grand conspiracy that this happens. It's just sort of like the natural flow of things, right? It's how things have always happened, and it's like just being aware of it can help us just sort of like see the patterns a little bit more. And once you sort of see the patterns, you're like, oh yeah, huh, interesting, right? And like, and it's everything from like that's innocuous. Like, I read it earlier this year, and then real talk, because it is such a slim book, it got lost sort of both in the bookshelf of my mind and my literal, like you know what I mean. But I thought about it. I thought about it recently because some dumb tweet I got mad at. It was because
me every day.
Oh, it was because there was some like film drama, and like Simu Liu, the actor who plays Shang-Chi, was like, it's like, say what you will about Marvel, but diversity and yada yada yada, right? And it's like, okay, that's true, but like, what are we doing? Come on,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, come on, guys, wait, where are we? Like, we're gonna like make Kevin Feige the sort of standard bearer of
right,
people
like
of color.
A Disney company is like the diversity and inclusion capital of the country.
Yeah, and it's like no shots at him and no shots at Marvel, but I'm just like, I was like, come on, what are we doing, guys? Are we?
Right. In the book, is it like people who are using the language and the rallying cries of oppressed groups in a good faith way, or is it people who are doing it in a bad faith way, or is it both?
I think it's mostly bad faith way.
Okay, so it's like the transformation of woke kind of thing.
Yeah, but it uses like historical examples from like the past and then all the way through the present. And so then you can sort of see the patterns. It's like, oh yeah, this ain't a new playbook. It's just like showing you the playbook.
Oh my God, that sounds so good. It's been on my list, so now I'm going to bump it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my next pick was a Stacks Book Club pick this year. and it is Shine Bright by Danielle Smith, which is the subtitle is a very personal history of Black women in pop. And Danielle Smith, it's sort of her memoir meets the mini biographies of all sorts of Black women in pop, from Whitney Houston to Aretha Franklin to
It's like Gladys Knight,
Janet Jackson, Gladys Knight. She does a thing on on Diana Ross and the Supremes, and she touches on all these incredible women. And I just love this book because it felt nice to read, even though there's a lot of heavy stuff and abuse and erasure and all this stuff. It's just beautifully written, and it was joyful. And one of the members of the Stax Pack made a full playlist of every song mentioned in the book, and I listen to it all the time.
Rocks,
it's hours and hours, and it's just for people who love pop culture, it's the way to write about pop culture, it's the way to take these things seriously. And it's an incredible playbook for people who are thinking about writing and talking about pop culture. Is she mixes her own story with these other women and makes them serious, and not just Whitney Houston did crack, right? She really seriously contemplates what that means and what that looks like, and the relationship with Bobby Brown and how that's tied to Aretha Franklin. And it's an incredible book, and it makes me happy. It's one of the few books that I've read that I'm I love this book and I want to just squeeze it and hug it and share it with people. So that's one that I love.
That's year. So I like reading. I go on a yearly camping trip. And on that book, and on those, I usually bring my collection of essays and criticisms that I want to read. So I think last year I bought the Hanif Abdurraqib book.
One of my favorites from last year.
Boy, that book! I have
so
I have literally remember me getting sunburned on and I was just reading it and be I should move, but I'm in the middle of this chapter right now, and so I'll just eat this. but yeah,
I'm gonna take this sunburn with me because I have to keep reading about
exactly.
whatever.
But this Danielle Smith book is definitely I saw it, and I saw people talking about it, and it's that's gonna be this year's camping book.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah. I hope you love it. Okay, actually, let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Valentine's Day is upon us, and I've got love on the brain. Love for books, duh, of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind-the-scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to traceythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. Okay, we're back. Andrew, your third book.
My third book is this book called Luda by Grant Morrison.
I don't know that.
Yeah, so Grant Morrison is they're mostly known as a comic book writer. I used to read their X-Men books. They wrote a pretty popular Superman run. I was obsessed with this graphic novel they wrote called We Three. About these animals that got turned into weapons of mass destruction by the American government. You like
fun stuff.
Yeah.
Totally sounds actually like something I would love.
Yeah. But this is their first novel, and it's about this aging drag artist who gets sort of seduced, goaded into sort of mentoring a younger ingenue, right, as part of
Ooh.
another younger drag artist, as a part of their pantomime company. It's packed with like dick jokes, right? And
Mm-hmm.
there's like a dick joke at every page. If so, if that's not your thing, like beware, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because it's told through this perspective of like Lucy LeBang, the main character. They're like doing their makeup and like telling you the story, right? And so
Okay.
it sounds a lot like that. I think it's a little. There's a lot of different ideas, and it's admittedly, I think like kind of hard to follow sometimes. But I think it makes up for that with its humor. And I just think it's like such a fun ride.
I love that. That sounds so fun.
Hmm.
It's a little bit like Drag Queen meets Hacks, the TV
Yeah,
show.
yeah, yeah,
I love Hacks, so I'm interested.
yeah.
Okay, my next pick is a weird one for me. Not weird, but just a not normal. I've never picked a poetry collection before,
Ah.
but this year I am picking Alive at the End of the World by Saeed Jones.
Mm.
I loved this collection so much. I don't even I'm one of those people that's like, I don't like poetry because I don't get it. And we've talked about poetry on the show many times and how I don't get it, and I'm supposed to just like not stress myself out, and if I get it, great, and if not, not. With this collection, I feel like I got it all. It's about grief, it's about pop culture, it's about being Black, it's about the violence in America. It's about the end of the world. I mean, the first poem is about the Pulse nightclub shooting, and Saeed recently shared it after the Club Q shooting because it is, like you were saying before, still relevant. These things cycle back through. But Saeed has a way with the darkest of dark things and humor, and making those dark things feel somehow darker, but also like hilarious and very sad and awful, and also like clever. And I don't know how he does it. It's obviously why he's a skilled poet, and I am over here fumbling through my words about this book, but I thought this collection was out of this world, starting with the cover, just like the most cool cover. It's like a silver shiny mirror car and a person in a hot pink like jumpsuit pushing it, or maybe it's an orange one, I can't remember now, but it's a bright color jumpsuit. It's just like weird and cool, and it makes so much sense. And like the thing that's really special about this book is that it feels so 2022. Like it just feels like all the pieces of the zeitgeist in 2022 are somehow in this book. And obviously Saeed was writing it prior to, but the way that the collection is put together, I'm just like, this book is poster child 2022 chaos. So yes, love.
Do you think you're open to other poetry now?
I mean, so we read poetry on the show. Every year we do one poetry book. I've had poets on the podcast, and I am open to poetry. It doesn't always click for me. Like this one just like hit me hard. And last year I made a goal to read one poetry collection a month. So I ended up reading about 14 or 15 poetry collections last year. So like I definitely am try to stay open to poetry, but it feels like work, and this one did not. Like this one, been a handful of others that have hit me similarly, but I think like as far as I'm concerned, this is the best poetry collection I've ever read, not just this year.
Oh, I mean, I've got a couple of poetry agnostics in my life
Yeah,
keep this in my
send
back
them their
pocket.
way. If they like pop culture, if they like dark humor, it's definitely for them. If they're looking for poetry to be like existential about like, I don't know, rivers and things, it's not going to be for them. But like if they're into like, if they're millennially kind of people, I think they'll fuck with this book for sure.
Nice.
Okay, what do you have for me next?
All right, my next book is called Diary of a Void by Emi Yagi. She's a Japanese writer. I think this is her first book. She's usually, if I remember correctly, she's a like magazine editor there. This book is about a woman who, because she's like sort of like fed up doing the sort of unspoken labor around the office, just like cleaning up after the dude's taking notes at the meetings or whatever. So she like pretends that she's pregnant. And she's like, yeah, I'm pregnant. And so like, yeah, I can't clean up like the cigarette butts, right? Because like I'm pregnant and it bothers my stomach. And they're like, oh, okay. And like all of a sudden, like the world, like her world like changes. And so like people are like starting to like do things for her. And then it kind of gets fuzzy, I think, as to whether I think there's an argument to be made that maybe she starts believing it herself. You know what I mean? She starts like living the lie too hard. And I think it's just like a fascinatingly funny look at like gender and like norms and all that stuff. And it's one of those things that like, because it takes place in Japan, she gets like a ton of like paid leave time, right? So she she then like goes off into the world of like mommy and me groups and all that stuff. And faces like this like sort of existential crisis about like motherhood and what motherhood means and how motherhood connects with like femininity and like being a person and all of that stuff. Yeah, a lot of stuff to unpack there, but
Oh my God, that sounds so good. I feel like, I don't know if this is just my experience of Japanese novels that have been like translated into English, but I feel like there's so many that deal with unlikable women. I feel like, I don't know if those are just the ones that get picked to be translated or like the ones that have crossed my desk, but I feel like what you're saying is like totally tracks with this like kind of novel. Like I'm thinking of like Convenience Store Woman is like a similar kind of like labor and Japanese women and like being unlikable and I love it. I mean, I'm like very into an unlikable woman.
Yeah, the main character in this book will sometimes be like kind of like shittily condescending to the other women in the mommy. It's like, calm down, dude. Like, relax.
Yeah.
They're just trying to take care of their kid like everyone else.
And this is obviously like kind of satirical or like dark humor.
Yeah, it is. It is a very funny book.
I'm so excited you came on for this because you're putting so many books I've never even heard of on the list, which I'm thrilled about. This is awesome. Okay. My next pick, this is the only novel on my list this year, and it is The Swimmers by Julie Otsuka. Have you heard of this one?
No, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay. I can't say too much about it because it has a major twist in the book and I do not want to spoil it, but I'll set up the premise as it was set up for me, which is basically a group of swimmers at like a community pool in an unnamed city in America swim and they discover a crack at the bottom of the pool. And then they start to freak out. So that's the setup. The book does a lot more than that. I promise you, if you're not into swimming, you're going to be fine. This book is full of like real human dread, like the kinds of anxieties and fears and stress that fill us all up. This book is also full of like some really interesting family dynamic. The voice of the book, Julia Otsuka writes, the first part of the book is all like, we go to the pool, we do this. Sometimes we see our friend the banker, and then so it's like, I don't know, second person plural or something. I'm terrible. I'm not an English teacher, not a Faulkner scholar. But the writing style is so interesting. I kind of tell people it's like an mainstream experimental novel, you know, like how it's like not actually experimental, but as far as like a mainstream published book that like gets a lot of, you know, eyes on it, it's sort of like weird and different. It's like the indie movie that is at the Oscars. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you made it to the Oscars. You're not that fucking weird, but like you're definitely weirder than Black Panther.
Yeah.
And I like can't tell everyone why I love it so much because I don't want to ruin anything, but it starts off weird and quirky and it gets to a place where you're like weeping and feel devastated. And it's so slim. It's like 200 pages, I think, tops. And it's just like, you know, sometimes when you read an author who's written a lot of books and you're like, I feel safe with this person because I can tell you're a professional writer and you understand how to tell a story. And like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but I feel like I want to come with you because you're a pro. That's the vibe that I had throughout that whole book. I was like, I don't know where this is going. I feel weird. I feel scared. I feel excited. But Julia Otsuka is giving me sentences on top of sentences that are just mind blowing. And it's just like, on a craft level, so good. On a story level, so good. Whew. Love.
And I love a 200-page book.
Same. Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean?
Give me 200 pages. If you can get it under 220, I am your best friend.
Yeah.
Because that's how books used to be. Like, I think of like a lot of like James Baldwin books are so slim and like Sula and
like Giovanni's Room, I think is like
Giovanni's. Yeah, super slim. And now it's like every book has to be 300 pages. I'm like, no, it does not. You could just get an editor to get rid of a lot of those pages.
It's like I have to make my statement about America or whatever that.
I'm like, no, do it quicker. Let's get a 30-minute sitcom situation. I do not need an hour drama, everybody. Not everything's an hour drama. Okay, we're down to this is your last one, right?
Yeah,
This is your
I think
number
so.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite book of the year is by Kate Beaton.
Oh
It's
my God, I just read this.
Ducks?
Ducks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Okay,
book
talk
fucked
about
me
it.
up, bro. This book. This book. Yeah, this book. All right, so it's a graphic memoir. I think people know her from Hark a Vagrant,
Hmm.
which I wasn't like a big fan of when it was popping off in the webcomic world.
I'd never heard of it. I'd never heard of her.
Yeah, but this is like a. I mean, all right, I was gonna reference like this is like a pretty big book, but it's a graphic novel, so it's a little breezier than
Yeah.
than like a
I did it
secondary.
in one afternoon.
Yeah, same. Yeah, and it's about her and the 2 years she spent in a oil mine in northern Canada. And I think it's such a honest and empathetic look at the sort of forces that force people into laboring under these certain conditions. You know what I mean? Because it
Mm.
sucks, right? It's not a fun job, and she's surrounded by dudes, and a lot of like really tough stuff happens to her. And it would be so easy for her to write something of a sort of like caricatured account, right, of her time there.
Hmm.
Because I did a profile of her when this came out, and then I was talking to another guy who wrote a book, about the Canadian oil miners, and they all talked about how there were like magazine pieces that would just focus on like everyone getting like hammered and going to the strip club and stuff like that, and like and doing drugs and that stuff does exist. It does happen, but there's like so much more to it than that that
Mm.
people often glossed over. And she gave these people in her life a real like heart that I think makes you feel complicated about these like massive things that like mining for oil is probably bad for the world, right? Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But then it's like it's hard. It just like talks about how like intractable it all is in our ecosystem.
Yeah. And what's really interesting about the book is like you said, she's a woman. And I think there's a part where she talks about being like 1 in 50
Mm-hmm.
women in these camps. And like also just she goes because she wants to pay off her student loans.
Mm-hmm.
She's like always been an artist, like wants to be a creative. I think she was like an art history major or something, but she's
Mm-hmm.
like, that doesn't pay. I got to go like make money. And it's this really like capitalistic place. Like everyone's there to make money and like send money home. And that's
Mm-hmm.
it. Like that's why they're there. They're all miserable. They all hate it. They're all like fucking up. And ultimately it's like just to make money and ruin the environment. And it just brings up like questions like you're saying about that kind of stuff of like what is this, what's happening here?
Yeah, and it's like it follows. I think there were like 2 years because remember there was that stretch
Yeah,
where like
so
a
she
lot of
says it's from 2005 to 2008 and
Mhm.
it's her 2 years, but there's 1 year where she like leaves and goes to a museum to work or
yeah,
something.
and then it finds out that like capitalism is bad here too.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
like, oh, can't get away
This
from
also
it.
sucks, but in a different
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, but like there was like a stretch where I had a friend or two who wanted to go to like North Dakota, right?
Oh.
To go work for oil. Like that was a big thing. Like it was there was a similar pattern in the States where like dudes just out of college like would just go to North Dakota for mining for oil there, and it's like, oh yeah, we have the same. We're just
I
following the same
didn't
path.
know that.
Yeah.
I'm not up on the oil camp community in
Mhm.
Northern America, obviously. Yikes. I mean, yeah, it's a kind of icky book.
Yeah,
Not like grotesque or anything, but just kind of leaves you feeling it's unsettling.
it is. Yeah, the ending
Yeah.
is like.
The
Yeah, I won't
ending,
obviously say what the ending
yeah.
was, but yeah, the ending was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. Here's my last pick. I hope this is the book you wrote down.
All right,
My-
got $2
my-
down on this.
Number one best book of the year. I read it in January. It was the book to hold on to is South to America by Imani Perry.
Yep, let the listener show I had this written down
Okay.
in the doc in front of me that this was the
Yay.
nonfiction heater of the year. Yeah.
This is okay, but did not make the New York Times most notable 100 books or
Wait, it
their
didn't?
top 10. No. Isn't that insane?
What? I don't know why I'm fact checking you right now. I'm just like looking.
I read the list 9 times because I was so stressed out about it. It made me so deeply upset. There were 2 other books that didn't make it that were National Book Award finalists, The Man Who Can Move Clouds and His Name is George Floyd. And I cannot get over it. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive the New York Times for that those 3 books weren't on the top 100. Excuse me. Anyways, my book of the year is South to America by Imani Perry. I love this book. I have talked ad nauseum about this book since January. I have been recommending it. What I love about this book is there are so many things to love, but what I love most about this book is that Imani Perry is a national treasure, and her writing is so beautiful, and she takes us with her on this weird journey through the American South. But also, it's a journey that only she could take us on. Like, this book is so rooted in Imani Perry's brilliant mind. And I love that for us. Like, I love that you can't just, like, if someone else was like, I'm writing a book about the American South and how it is, impacts the rest of the nation, I feel like it would be a really different book. But Imani Perry was like, no, let's talk about, like, honey buns. And let's talk about the different ways that you can say someone is, like the different uses of language. And let's talk about, is Washington, D.C. the South or not? Like, let's have a whole chapter on that. And let's go back and, like, find my ancestors. And let's talk about what it feels like to be in Alabama and how that feels like Mississippi and, like, why that feels like home and why when she meets someone from Mississippi, they feel like home to her. And, like, all these little tiny, tiny points that she ties together just so beautifully. And, like, it's like this web of she just, like, it's like when people do, like, a loom, they're, like, weaving on a loom, and it's like you have, like, 900 colors and you're making a tapestry and it looks like nothing up close, and then you pull back and you're like, holy shit. But it's just like a few threads here and a few threads there, and you're pulling it all in, and, like, only a real artist could make something so intricate and beautiful, and someone else could, like, make a bath mat out of, like, a few colors, but, like, she's, like, giving you art, and, like, I don't know. It's just, I can't even explain it. But I will say this about the book. The other thing I loved about this book is I found it challenging to read.
Oh, really?
And I feel like sometimes I, like a lot of people, want to read something that just feels like goes down really easy. And this book is, like, it's not hard. Like, the topics are difficult because we're talking about the American South and race and all of these things in class. But it's like her writing is so complicated that you really have to, like, give it attention, which I loved. Like, I love not being able to phone it in with this book. And I will say the first chapter, I could not figure out what the fuck I was reading. And then by the second or third chapter, I was like, oh, I get it. Which is something that happened to me similarly with the Hanif collection last year. Like, after the first essay, I was like, what is this book? And then as I got further in, I was like, oh,
it, like,
okay.
teaches you how to read it, kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this book does the same thing. So for people who are picking it up, you gotta get through it. Keep going, keep reading. It'll reveal itself to you. But this book, to me, was easily, hands down, the best thing that I read this year, and probably one of the best books of the last 5 or 10 years for me.
Did you listen to her speech at the NBA?
Of course. I watched it like 5 times.
That was
so fantastic.
Just like, whew, yeah.
She's so fantastic. I mean, I had the pleasure of meeting her this year, and I told her this to her face. I was like, you, and actually, coincidentally, Hanif, are 2 of the living writers right now that I'm like, oh, I'm so glad to be alive and reading this work as it's coming to us in real time. In the way that I think that people who, like, knew Toni Morrison felt that way, right? Like, oh, we're among someone really special. Like, to me, she is our, like, one of our great living writers. And to see this book, be published, first of all, because it is sort of like a proposal for this, I feel like could get a lot of, like, I don't get it. But to see it be published and executed so well, and then to actually receive the praise for the most part, like, it makes me so happy for Imani Perry, because she's deserving of the praise,
It's so funny that you pair her with Hanif, because, like, I agree with you and I understand what you're like. These would be like the like, if like, remember when, like, writers would just go on, like, William F. Buckley show or whatever like that, you know what I mean, and, like, be like cultural figures. Like, these are them. These are those people of 2022, but they come from, like, such different backgrounds. Right? Like,
yeah,
like, she's, like, coming from, like, academia and like history and stuff like that. And Hanif, I know of because I read his, like, essays about pop punk bands. You know,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they do come from really different worlds, and they're different generations. I mean, Imani, I think, just turned 50 and Hanif is like 35 or something. You know, like they're definitely different generations, but they both are considering the world around them in unique ways. You know, like I would love to do a project where you give like some of the best writers the same prompt, and then like to see how Hanif and Imani would write about XYZ. You know, like I think that would be so cool because their brains are so different and so exciting, and like. And you know, we did Breathe by Imani Perry on the Stacks as a book club pick in 2020, and that's her letter to her sons. It's like it's like kind of like a memoir but in letter form, and that book she does a similar thing where she pulls all these different ideas together, and like the fact that she can do it in an academic way, she can do it in a personal way, she can do it in sort of this blend way with South to America. It's just it's too much talent for my brain to handle.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our top 10. We did it. We did it, everybody.
You normally like lean heavily more on nonfiction, right?
I do normally lean nonfiction, but in the past, I feel like I've always had at least one or two fictions on the list. This year, I think, is the only year I've only had I think the last 2 years I've had two. I think this is the only year I've had just the one.
Interesting.
But you know, staying true to myself, having a lot of nonfiction. And the poetry that I picked is very nonfiction-y. It doesn't feel fiction-y at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I have to bring someone else in to help me, because otherwise it would be all nonfiction and people would be so mad.
I felt bad. I was like, oh man, I only have like one nonfiction.
No, it's great. I feel like I can handle the
let me find out some other nonfiction books I like this.
No, you had two, because you had Elite Capture and you had Kate Beaton.
Oh, right. I guess, that counts as Mount. Yeah.
Sure. And we got graphic on here. I feel like we got a really good, like, diverse list. We have something in translation. We have poetry. We have graphic. We have novels. We have sort of essay-y. We have
novels that are kind of very graphic.
We have graphic. Yeah, we have grotesque and graphic. I feel like we did good.
Yeah.
Well, we have a few more minutes. Do you have any books that you're really excited about for 2023?
The one book I'm very looking forward to reading that's on my shelf right now is called Ringmaster by Abe Reisman. It's a biography of Vince McMahon, who runs like the WWE. And she comes from, I think she comes from New York Mag. She wrote one of the great biographies of Stan Lee. She also did a profile of like Steve Ditko, who was one of the artists who co-created Spider-Man, who is this sort of like libertarian, mysterious shadow figure. And so I trust her what she's doing with Ringmaster. You know what I mean? This isn't just any Joe Schmo writing a Vince McMahon biography. And like, as I'm 33. And and I was never a big wrestling fan, but I think it's undeniable, considering our recent political history, how like the energy and language of professional wrestling is imbued in America, you know, and how we talk about pretty much everything. And I think there's just like fascinating things that you can break the WWE down about like gender and race, you know what I mean? Like, there's just like, I have this distinct memory in my mind of there used to be this thing that like kids would do when I was in elementary school that came from wrestling, which is like they like, I don't know how to describe it. They like put their hands on their like groin and go like, suck it.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right? I don't know. Yeah,
sure. Like I think like you'd cross your
arms. Yeah. I think everyone can imagine what the movement I'm doing. Yeah, it's like why were we all doing that? Why were all the kids I was scared were going to bully me?
Does that come from wrestling?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh my god, I know nothing
that comes from
about
the
wrestling.
D-Generation X or whatever. And you know, there's just like, you know, arguably one of our biggest movie stars, right? Dwayne Johnson comes from wrestling and all that. And I think it's such an interesting world to break down that I'm excited to chew into.
Oh my gosh. Wait, now that's on my list of most anticipated. I write a column every year about my most anticipated books, and I'm adding that to mine because I don't know anything about wrestling, but if it's a person who can write smartly about a topic I know nothing about, then I'm all in.
Mm-hmm.
I have a handful of books that I'm really excited about. I should start with, there's a bunch of books coming from people who have been like past guests and favorites on the podcast. Brandon Taylor has a new book. Samantha Irby has a new book. Clint Smith has a new collection of poetry. Nicole Chung has a new book. A book that I'm really excited about from a past guest is Chain Gang All-Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei Brenya, who wrote Friday Black. And this is about like a group of women, I think, who I hate to read about books before they come out. So I'm like, I don't really know what it's about, but I know it's about a group of women in prison who are like fighting each other, like for sport. So I'm excited about that because Nana writes like such dark, twisted, fun stuff. So that's one that I'm really excited about. And then there's a book that, funnily enough, a member of the Stacks Pack Rosamond told me about called The Writers Come Out at Night by Allie Winston and Darwin Bond Graham. And it's an examination into the Oakland Police Department and all their scandals. And I'm from Oakland. So this is one of my personal like things I'm obsessed with.
Like the one that
Scandal.
Nightcrawler's about?
Yes, it's about all of the. There's so many other scandals on top of that.
There's a lot to choose from.
But that's part of it. Yeah, so it's like the nonfiction version of night crawling and some. But apparently, Allie Winston and Darwin Bond Graham have been writing about the Oakland Police Department for Bay Area publications for years, and so it's their kind of like they put all of this together to like do a whole thing. And the cover is like this fantastic shot of the Bay Area at night or Oakland at night, and I'm just like, I cannot wait. It comes out in January, and I haven't fully started reading 2023 books as of recording, but as of the time people hear this, I'll probably have already read the book, so I'll have thoughts. But that's one that's really high on my list. And then also Matthew Desmond, who wrote Evicted, has a new book coming out called Poverty by America. Yeah, so I'm curious about that. I liked Evicted. I didn't love Evicted. A lot of people thought it was like the greatest thing ever. It won the Pulitzer. But I'm really curious about this one because I think he's a fantastic writer. So those are just like a handful of books that are coming that I'm excited about. But again, this year, for whatever reason, I feel like I'm not as on the pulse. I haven't quite gotten on the pulse of 2023 yet. I feel like last year I knew, like going into 2023, when we did this last year, I was like, or 2022, I was like, I have to read South to America. I think it's good. Like I knew it was on my call. Like, sometimes you just know what books are coming and you're like so excited. And this year it's a smaller batch for me, but a lot of people who have been on the show are coming out with second, third, fourth books that I'm just like, cannot wait. Nice. So yeah. Any predictions for what we can expect in 2023? Any trends you think we might see?
In complete honesty, so like my partner is about to have a kid, so like my book reading has been like how to be a good birthing partner. You know what I mean? Like just like how to not like fuck up your kid. And that's the book that. But to bring it back to what we were talking about, I kind of what I'm kind of hoping to see. Here's what I'm hoping to see: people sort of like 3 years late on the book talk game, sort of like begrudgingly doing it. And you can tell, you know what I mean? That'll
be me. That's going to be me. You're going to see me on book talk.
I want to see like Cormac McCarthy be like, oh, well, you know what I mean?
It's so weird. I love that. Wait, when is your offspring due?
February.
Oh my gosh. So exciting. So exciting.
So, my reading might take a big hit, but we'll see.
You'll be surprised. It might not. I had twins in 2019 and I still powered through. So... and I did read a bunch of those parenting books, but you can skip a lot of them. Okay. We'll talk offline. I'll give you my few recs.
Totally,
Okay, well, this was so fun. Andrew Limbong, the host of NPR's Book of the Day. You can catch that show every day, except for Saturday and Sunday, weekdays. Yep. And if you've never listened, you all should go through the back catalog because there are so many freaking episodes with people that we've had on the show, friends of the podcast, like Brandon Kyle Goodman is on, Kamala Shamsi. And also it's like such a great way to get, 9-10 minutes snippet about a book that maybe you're curious about, you're not sure if you want to invest time in it. You'll get these little spoiler-free snippet interviews from all of your favorite voices at NPR, like Alyssa Chang does them, who I love. So definitely check out the show. Andrew, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is loads of fun.
Yeah, and everyone else, we will see you in the stacks. All right, y'all, that does it for us today. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you again to Andrew Limbong for joining us. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Emma Gordon for helping to make this episode possible. The Stacks Book Club pick for December is True Biz by Sarah Novich. We will be discussing the book on Wednesday, December 28th with our guest, Greta Johnson. If you love the show and want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks to join the Stacks Pack. Make sure you're subscribed to the Stacks wherever you're listening to your podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, be sure to leave us a rating and a review. For more from the Stacks, follow us on social media at the Stacks Pod on Instagram and at the Stacks Pod _ on Twitter. And check out our website, thestackspodcast.com. This episode of The Stacks was edited by Christian Duenas with production assistance from Lauren Tyree. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Tegirigis. The Stacks is created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.